Max Verstappen showcased his unbeatable skills and brilliance at the Monaco Grand Prix, securing Red Bull winning streak in 2023. No other team has won a race up to now, and despite a sudden downpour and the chaos that followed, Verstappen triumphed, leading the pack alongside Fernando Alonso in second position for Aston Martin and Esteban Ocon, who's been brilliant to secure a third position for Alpine. So let's dive a little bit more into the details of the race. Right from the start, Verstappen dominated the race, maintaining his pole position advantage over Alonso. Let's remember that Verstappen was the only one in the top 5 to start with the medium compound tires. All the other teams behind him, they started on the hard compound tires, hoping to go longer and create a little bit of a variable, let's say, because on pure pace we know that the Red Bull at the moment are unbeatable, so it makes no sense to start with the same strategy, to follow the same strategy as theirs, of course. So that was good, that was well played. Also Ferrari, they've started on the hard compound tires, but of course the Ferrari strategies are nowhere near as good as the other strategies from Red Bull, who are top, or Mercedes, or even Alpine, which they played a very good race today. And we're gonna say why in a little bit. However, the race progressed, and the pit stop loomed, because all around lap 45, all drivers they had to decide whether to pit or not. I mean, Verstappen was extending his stint with the medium compound tires just as to wait to see what the other teams behind, especially Alonso, who was on a 9 seconds gap behind him on the hard compound tires, what will Alonso do, and so on. And then around lap 50, 51, the heavens, opened up, and it started to rain a little bit, so that created chaos, and there was a flurry of off-track adventures, and close encounters with the barriers, and a frenzy of activity in the pit lane, with teams starting to pit. Unfortunately for teams like Ferrari, of course, they pitted around lap 46 for Charles Leclerc pitted for the medium compound tires, and Sainz, who started on the medium, he pitted for the hard compound tires. And that, in the end, it proved to be a complete wrong strategy, because around lap 53, 54, all other teams, they were deciding whether to pit for intermediate tires, because it started to rain a lot more in the section from the Mirabeau section after the casino, down until the low hairpin, and then at the entrance of the tunnel. That part of the track was pretty wet, and it was really slippery, and we've seen a lot of mistakes, drivers going off track, like George Russell, who went off track at Mirabeau, and then when he rejoined, he actually collided with Perez that was passing by, and he was also given, I guess, a 5-second penalty for that. But then Verstappen didn't panic, and was waiting to see what the other teams will do. And so Alonso, who's always been brilliant about race strategy, as I said before, Alonso is like a strategist inside of the car when it's about, what to do, and prediction inside of the race, about what also other drivers do and so on. But this time he played it completely wrong, because he came in and he pitted for the medium compound tires when the rain was intensifying, and that proved to be a disaster choice, because just one lap later he had to come in again and pit for intermediate. At the same time, Verstappen stayed out while Alonso pitted, and Verstappen, he was still on the medium tire and was really slippery. He went in, brushing into the walls here and there, clipping the walls multiple times, but he managed to keep it on track, keep it safe, and then he pitted for the intermediate tires after that, and that proved to be the best strategy. Of course, it was a pity because if you're a neutral fan, of course, it was a pity for Alonso because if he would have pitted for intermediate instead of the medium tire at the time that he did it, it would have been a great choice because by Verstappen, by staying out one extra lap, he lost that gap of 9 seconds that he had to Alonso. So by pitting with intermediate and overcutting Verstappen in that maneuver, he would have been in front in first position, and this would have been, the best situation. I mean, this circuit was the best opportunity at the moment that Aston Martin or any other team had, in this case Aston Martin, to win a race, because as they proved to be, Red Bull at the moment, they are unbeatable on every track. And they proved to be unbeatable even today in Monaco, in the dry race, in the dry part of the race at the beginning till lap 52, and in the end, in the wet, they were still dominating. So Verstappen, crucial move from mediums to intermediates, really paid off, and then he regained his rhythm in the mixed condition. He maintained control of the race until the checkered flag. Then, despite an additional pit stop, Alonso secured second place, marking Aston Martin's best result in this season. Ocon, on the other hand, capitalized on his impressive qualifying performance, securing the final podium spot. On the other hand, Mercedes, they played a good strategy. They pitted in the right moment for intermediate, and they ended up fourth with Hamilton and Russell in fifth. And Leclerc instead maintained his starting position of sixth, but it was poor because Leclerc at a certain point at the beginning was driving in the third position. So if he would have pitted for intermediate, again, same thing as Alonso, he would have ended up on the podium. Instead, he has to make do with sixth position. And Gasly from Alpine followed him in seventh position, and then Sainz completed, let's say, the top position. Then McLaren celebrated the double point finish with Norris and Piastri securing 9th and 10th place. They made late overtakes on Tsunoda from AlphaTauri, who encountered issues with lockups and brakes, dropping to 15th position. Alfa Romeo claimed 11 and 13 with Bottas and Zhou, sandwiching De Vries from AlphaTauri in 12th position. Albon followed them in 14th position, along with Tsunoda and Perez, who could only manage P16 after a qualifying disaster yesterday when he crashed at Saint-Devote in Q1 and getting eliminated from qualifying. Then Hülkenberg from Ast finished 17. He also had a time penalty for colliding with Logan Sargent on lap 1, which was also incorrectly served, resulting in an additional 10-second sanction. Then followed by Logan Sargent, and then we had the retirement of Kevin Magnussen in the final laps after braving the wet condition, and with Stroll from Aston Martin, who also suffered various incidents leading to DNF. Let's look at the driver standings. We have Max Verstappen, of course, is in the first position with 144 points, followed by Sergio Perez. Now the gap to Sergio Perez is 39 points because Perez didn't score any points today, so is sitting still at 105 points, 39 points. This is a huge gap already going into Barcelona next week. Then we have Fernando Alonso, Mr. Consistency, who's sitting in third position with 93 points. He's followed by Hamilton, who's doing pretty well considering a Mercedes that is not performing at the level that they want to, the level that they're used to, sitting at fourth place with 69 points. It's followed by George Russell, his teammate, with 50 points in fifth position. Then we have Carlos Sainz for Ferrari in sixth with 48 points, Leclerc in seventh position with 42 points, and then Lance Stroll for Aston Martin in eighth position with 27 points, Esteban Ocon for Alpine 21 points in ninth position, and 10th position to round up the top 10 in the driver standings, Pierre Gasly for Alpine with 14 points. Let's look at the other side of the standings. We have Lando Norris in 11th for McLaren with 12 points, Nico Hülkenberg for Haas with 6 points in 12th position, Oscar Piastri, the other Mercedes, in 13th position with 5 points. Then we have Bottas for Alfa Romeo with 4 points, his teammate Zhou with 2 points in 15th position. Then we have Yuki Tsunoda for Alfa Tauri, the Japanese, with 2 points, followed by Kevin Magnussen for Haas with 2 points, then Alexander Albon for Williams with 1 point, and scoreless this season there are still Nick De Vries for Alfa Tauri and Logan Sargent for Williams. So guys, I would have wished for a more exciting race today, to be honest with you. As I said yesterday, for me, the ideal, of course, it doesn't happen just because it's my ideal, but the ideal would be to have like a sunny day in qualifying in Monaco on a Saturday, and then a rainy day on Sunday's race, just to mix things up. We have to say that up until lap 52, the race was being dull. We have to admit that Monaco can be pretty dull in these circumstances. Even though I love it, and I consider Monaco one of the highlights in motorsport every year. It's one of the races that I'm the most looking forward to it. And on Saturday, I guess the qualifying on Saturday in Monaco, it's really one of the highlights of motorsports, because it's beautiful scenery. You have the beautiful scenery there. It's a wonderful track. It's twisty and narrow, and you have the harbor, the yachts, the mountains behind. It's beautiful, that part, the coastal track, next to the sea. It's unbelievable. You have a lot of history with races that go back to the beginning of the 20th century, even before the start of the official Formula One World Championship in 1950. I guess the first race that was held in Monaco, I think probably the first official race, it was in 1929, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. But probably there were already like some races going on even before that date. But just beside the history, it's beautiful to see these wonderful machines, this sophisticated machine, fast machine, which are Formula One cars, going so fast, brushing those walls and barriers, and on a Saturday with a low on fuel, very light cars and super soft tires. The drivers, they just go at full speed, full revs, engine at maximum rev, and so on. So it's like it's great, it's amazing. I love it. But the race can be dull. The race can be dull because it's difficult to overtake. It's very difficult. In dry conditions, drivers are also skilled. All the 20 drivers most of them are pretty skilled, so it's difficult that they make a mistake on a dry surface, on a dry track. So the most beautiful races in Monaco, usually on a Sunday, they are those wet, rainy races, and because they make things unpredictable, drivers, they have to struggle, with the car control, and so it's more likely that they can make mistakes, and some drivers perform better than other, in this condition, in the wet. And this makes for unpredictable result. I mean, look at back and when in 1996 Olivier Panis won the race by starting in 14th position, and in a race that only 5 cars arrived at the checkered flag. I mean, that was unbelievable. I remember that race so vividly because I was a teenager back then. Yeah, I was a young, very, very young teenager at the time. And that was a brilliant race. Or Ayrton Senna in Monaco. I was too little to remember the race. Of course, I was just a little child. But in 1984 in Monaco, Ayrton Senna in a Toleman, driving in the wet condition, those extreme condition, running, climbing the ladder, until the second position. That was a great race that I like to rewatch from time to time, just to remind myself um, how beautiful also those drivers were, how great those drivers were. And of course, Ayrton Senna is one of the greatest heroes of my childhood. So I always like to see those kind of races. And then we have also in 2008, unfortunately for Ferrari, because they started on the front row with Massa and Raikkonen, we saw recently the replay of that race, and Hamilton won it by starting in third, just by by making a mistake. Actually, it's funny because in that race, by making a mistake, he crashed into the wall down at the swimming pool, and so he had to come in and pit for hard tires. But that proved to be the right strategy because he could extend his stint on the hard tires, and then when the rain came, all the drivers made mistake, had to pit and so on. So he managed, and also Hamilton is brilliant, in those conditions. I mean, Monaco is great, can be really great. I mean, there are so many races that I can remember. In 1992, Ayrton Senna with a slow car, heading off Nigel Mansell in the very quick Williams FW92. I mean, that was a great race, also seeing all those crucial final laps with the Williams trying to pass everywhere, Ayrton Senna, and couldn't make it because Senna was delivering a masterclass in defensive action there in Monaco. I mean, I'm really, I don't agree with all these people, all these new fans, new Formula One fans, that they say that Monaco is boring. Yes, it's true that probably the organizer, the FIA, they will have to come up with something, just to make the race itself more entertaining in Monaco, because it's true that when you have a day like that, sunny day without the weather, kicking in and bringing some unpredictability, races they can be dull. Hopefully today we had a bit of excitement for the last part of the race in the last 25 laps. At least it was a bit unpredictable, and we have to say that also, even though Red Bull they have a very dominant car, but we have to say that Max Verstappen, he kept a cool head, clear head, didn't make mistakes, he didn't panic. Of course, he's in a much more comfortable situation because he was also having a really big gap to Alonso in second, so he didn't have to push or press himself into making some abrupt decision and so on. But still, he kept a cool head, and he drove a brilliant race, and it's really, really deserved for Red Bull, and it's deserved this record that they are having. I just hope, as a fan of the sport, I just hope for the sake of this championship to be entertaining and exciting for everyone, not only for Red Bull fans or for Verstappen fans. I hope that some other team can come up, with a miracle, basically. We have to say in this moment, a miracle just to uh, bring the excitement, the fight, between two teams, two two drivers, because even though Sergio Perez up to now was being close to Max, but it's not as exciting to see an intra-team battle compared to a battle of teams. You know, I mean, unless you are kind of Senna and Prost in McLaren at the end of the 80s, or even Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. You know, the duality that they had in 2016 and 15, those years before, it was brilliant because Rosberg could win races, could put it on pole, you know, and it was definitely not a number two driver. But you know, there are some other drivers that they cannot, you know, make up with their teammates. And Perez this year is giving his best shot. We have to say he has won 2 races, but now Max has won 4 races, you know. So, and he's pulling a gap on him. I mean, Sergio, if he's to be in contention, because we're still early in the championship, but 39 points, they start to be a lot. And if he is to be in contention, he needs to start to deliver. He needs to start to deliver immediately. It's a silly mistake what he's done yesterday in qualifying. He's gonna regret it for sure. He's gonna regret it big time, and he has to make amend for that because Max is not losing any ground. The car is reliable. Max is reliable. He's driving at his best. So in the end, he deserves to be at the top of the championship right now. And well, guys, that's it. I guess this is for the race result, the race report. Now we're gonna follow up this video with another video about the drivers' ratings, my ratings for the driver for today, for the race. So I hope you tune in and you like this video. Drop me a like if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I'm a poor underdog and this means a lot to me. So hope you are a good sport, and I'll see you. Click on the like, subscribe, all those stuff, the bell, notification and so on. I'm joking. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you on to the next one. Okay? Peace.